Ladies and gentlemen, the following is scheduled for one fall. It is time for That Way Cool Wrestling Show! Hey everybody, Danny J here. We are back right here with That Way Cool Wrestling Show right here on the DJV Productions Network. Make sure you're hitting the notification bell down below. Hit subscribe and share the channel as well. Guys, this is a big show for us. It's our anniversary show. We're on 4 years. Put the fours up. 4 years. Doing our thing, hooking it up. Very, very good. Having a lot of fun. As always, I'm joined by LeGrand Onslaught Jackson. Where am I at? Oh, here, man Mark. And Charles Gemini Gregory. We're hooking it up. Well, we have a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about the show a little bit. Then we're going to talk some wrestling, and we're going to have it really good. But to help us celebrate the anniversary, we got two very special guests. One dropped out, so we're going to wait from the clock back in. So let's go into here. We got Super Mex himself, Shawn Hernandez. Shawn, welcome back to the show.
What's up, brother?
What's up, guys? How are y'all today?
Very well, very well, very well.
Glad we're talking to you. Glad we can see you.
And we have a second guest, but he popped out real quick. So I'm going to wait for him to pop back in. But just to give everybody, while we're waiting on our second guest, I'm going to get it like this. There we go. We get it like that. Just to give everybody a little bit of anniversary fall back here. The show actually started pre-production in about 2014. So actually 6 years ago. It took about 2 years to get everything to the point of application, meaning that we were ready to book, we were ready to video, we were ready to get everything together. And then at that point, we still had to come up with a name. And I'll give credit where credit is due. I was sitting there when I wrestled. My name was Way Cool Jr. And a good friend of ours, the Mac Daddy Ron Starr, came to me and he said, "Why don't you just call it That Way Cool Wrestling Show after you?" And I said, "You have a good idea." I said, "Let's go with that." So we went with that. And then the original setup, if you guys remember,
because the show's better than your wrestling.
Yeah, okay, right? I was fine. Don't even worry about it. So we the original setup, we were going to be in a bar at like a poker table with the overhead light, smoking cigars, and very seedy looking, just talking wrestling. Okay, that's what we were going to do. And then what happened was the week of shooting, we ended up having a problem where the bar was bought out and they weren't honoring anything else. Here's our second guest. Because Shawn Hernandez is not Latin enough, we got the Latin sensation, Ricky Santana, coming in here. Ricky.
Damn. Thanks for having me. Wow.
It's funny though, we're talking about this. I saw some promos Ricky was doing. Ricky, you were doing some promos, I guess over the summer or in the late fall. You were doing some promos for some stuff. I saw it on Facebook. You put it up. And it was one in particular that you were in your office.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? And a girl comes in, she says, "Hey, you got a call from so-and-so." And
oh, yeah.
I was laughing my ass off because here's the thing. Being a wrestling fan, I'm like, all right, let me watch what he's doing, right? And then being in the business, I'm like, all right, wait a minute. Let me pick this apart, right? Ricky's fine. Ricky's doing his thing. The girl's sitting there like the girl comes in and she says to him, "Hey, Ricky, so-and-so is trying to get a hold of you," right? And it's not where Ricky's dodging him, doesn't want to talk to him, blah, blah, blah.
It's
and
probably
Ricky,
you.
It was me. Yeah, it was my phone call. It was going to be on the show. So Ricky goes in this whole spiel about why he doesn't want to talk to this guy and why this guy doesn't need to be talking to him and blah, blah, blah. And the girl's sitting there like, I'm like, that girl has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, definitely. But hey, she was attractive.
Doesn't matter. She was like, and at the end of the thing, she goes, "Okay." It was great.
We need to talk wrestling. I got two legends I want to talk to the wrestling.
Yes. Now, what I do want to talk about, we get a couple things up here. Who is that? Is that Shawn? Are you doing stuff?
Shawn's adjusting his
It's all like crackly over here, dude.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's Ricky's sound.
Ricky jumped out. No, I think it's Shawn.
No.
Shawn snapping.
No. It was Ricky.
Was it Ricky's phone?
He was trying to get
No,
the sound back.
It sounded like 1970s TV.
I just sound like an old porn video, right?
1980s HBO at night.
WHAT.
Oh man.
So what I wanted to talk about is a couple things I wanted to bring up, because there's various little things, and we can just I want to get your opinion on it, that type of thing. A big thing that came up last week or the week before, I think it was probably 2 weeks ago. Lars Sullivan, big gigantic monster did he get called up, or is he still in NXT?
He was on the main roster.
He was on the main roster. They find some gay porn videos that he started. Okay. And we're all posted up on Twitter, so you got to see it. You're like, yeah, this is definitely him. Blah, blah, blah. Now, some of the articles out there, and a lot of it's clickbait, of course, but a lot of the articles are like, well, what's this mean for Lars Sullivan? How's this going to affect him? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, there's about 19, 20 videos a page. She always puts out like a series, okay? Then you got, let me bring in Ricky. Ricky, you there?
Yeah, am I back? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Jeez, every time the phone chimes in, I lose you guys.
I'm sorry.
My phone.
But
Shit.
bring up to speed. We're talking about Lars
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, they found some gay porn videos that he starred in. The question was, how's this affect his push? How's this affect his career? And my what I started to explain would be that there's about 19, 20 videos a page. Ain't bothering her at all. There's a video of everybody knows her as Victoria.
Yep.
Miranda. There's a video of her. Didn't bother her at all. She's getting signings left and right. I just literally found one. It was a legit video of Becky Lynch, and that's one of your top stars now. And it was her. It was not like someone that looked like her or anything like that. Her voice is on it, the whole 9 yards, just talking. It was her. So I'm thinking to myself, is there a double standard to say, well, these girls, we don't mind seeing porns of these girls, but because this guy did something that maybe is a little out of the ordinary, we're going to give him a problem? You know?
The way I see it is that the ones you've mentioned have already been established.
True.
And it's a different thing. They've already been out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to get a push before you get a push when you carrying along this 10-pound bag of bad baggage.
Yeah.
And it doesn't want to start that way. But once you're in, that's a whole different story. I mean, look at Hogan.
Yeah.
Hogan had the same type of stuff, but it's still Hulkster, and he's still out there doing his thing.
This is true. You
know, it may be a double standard, but it's just, fact.
You can say double standard, but when your fan base is like age 13 to 25 males, putting a woman up there is completely different than you putting a guy.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just not works.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't work.
A 13-year-old boy would love to see Becky Lynch's tits. You don't want to see Lars Sullivan's, the shit.
I'm 45. I watched that video twice.
Yeah. What? You watched Lars twice?
He was Lars.
He watched Lars twice.
He looks a lot like Mark.
But I mean, if you think about it, that's God. It's God honest that no one.
It's true.
That's how it is. You rather see women,
I guess
it goes by the fan base.
I guess it also goes to say that this business really hasn't traveled that far, in a sense, because it is a male-dominated business.
It's a but anything. I'll cut you off, but you're saying that with Lars and the gay. Look at. I mean, they could probably tell you more than I can because they were the racism we used to have to deal with.
Yes.
I dealt with that every show, but I used to tell them I can fight for real. I'm not people out.
Yeah.
But that's what we used to go. It's just how it is. You got to try to.
But now you got guys like what's his name? I want to say Orlando Bloom. Jordan. Yeah. Openly gay. Has it in his gimmick and the whole 9 yards. Ain't bothering him. Now, granted, you don't see him that much, or maybe it is.
But you weren't in a video. They think that look at when Goldust did Goldust. Yeah. They see it as a gimmick.
Yeah.
Okay. When you got somebing on tape torturing another dude is right out there, it doesn't matter. It's not a gimmick anymore. It's real life. It's real life, man. Come on. There's nothing wrong with that lifestyle.
Right.
But don't come up here.
I just feel bad for the guy. He's getting started, and that happens. I mean, everybody. You know what someone said to me earlier this week? They said everybody's got to make money. And I said, you know what? You're right. Everybody does got to make money.
But he had other problems before he even came out with the what do you call it?
Racist.
The racist the comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the life you're gonna live, get ready for the backlash.
I
That's
mean,
just the
it's
bottom line.
is it negative promotion in a sense? Is it like, he's getting his name out there regardless? How are you going to work?
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
No.
But sometimes there is. That's all.
This is.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah, I think that's right. You went somewhere.
Well, it's just the same as what's going on with what's her face, Blanchard.
Right.
Tessa.
There's all types of stories coming out about her now, saying some really ignorant things to people in the locker room, but you got people defending her.
Yeah.
But now they're trying to use that as a catalyst because they put the title on her.
Well, and I want to get into that too.
Don't you say black kids?
She dated Ricochet, who I didn't realize is black, but he's black.
What do you mean? Did he walk in your neighborhood? No.
Ricochet, sure he
Fuck,
did.
dude.
My neighborhood, yeah, sure he did.
You guys, you killed me. Let's get to the subject, man. These guys are
And
here.
she's now engaged to Daga, who's a Mexican. And they're like, to Tommy Dreamer,
There ain't nothing wrong with
ain't
it.
nothing racist about the girl. I don't understand where you're getting it. Could it be that the push that she's getting is just generating some of this negative talk?
I don't know. Look, I watched some of her stuff. She works tight. I would love to see her, and I think she can run a roster. She could go to WWE, do whatever. I think she would shit on some of them. But she works very tight. I don't have a problem with her. All right?
Yeah.
She's second dad, whatever. I think she would be great, but it's all about the politics. I'll leave it like that. I would love to see her in the WWE NXT ring.
And a lot of guys have gone on, and most recently Booker T has gone on and said, big mistake giving her the title. And in the last episode of That Way Cool Wrestling Show, I had Big Vito Lagrasso on, and he made a statement to say, where do you go from here with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Where do you go from here? What are you going to do? Is she going to beat every male?
I know.
Is she going to not have any female competition? I mean,
well, that's what he said. He said, what's that do for the knockouts? Now, does that make them inferior to her? What's that do to? He used Sami Callihan as an example. Sami Callihan is the champion. He beats Brian Cage, right? Then he can't beat her. What's that make? If he ever gets a title back or anything, how do you have any kind of push behind him if he got beat by a woman? He goes, that's the way it's fought. He goes, it's not to be ignorant, it's not to be anything like that, but it's a precedent and good for her because I think she works tight and she does. She's a great performer, but I think
I got it for you. I got it for you, Shawn. Go back a couple months, beat the piss out of her, get paid, and go back home.
One payday, Shawn.
There's no way that I would put her over.
No, exactly. There you go.
Tessa's, don't get me wrong, Tessa's a great worker, great female worker, but I mean, she's 5'4", 120 pounds.
Yeah.
You just, I understand pro wrestling. I know pro wrestling is supposed to be,
entertainment.
Yeah.
But come on, if we're doing a singles match, cool, whatever. You can suspend disbelief. Yeah. But if you were doing it for the title, for the men's #1 title,
yeah.
So if I beat her, do I get to be the women's title too?
That was the other thing that came up because then what happens? Why can't the guy go for the women's title? Then you get into that kind of stuff. And
is that equal rape shit? I'm telling you.
Well, here's my problem. I have no problem with putting a woman over for the title.
Right.
I have no problem. But not a 5'4", 97-pound woman.
So you're saying like a Nia Jax or something.
You bring in another China. You bring in another Nicole Bass. You bring in Nia Jax. You bring in something that has some size.
Like Kong.
Yeah,
yes.
Kong. Yeah.
Yep. You can do a screw finish, and that's it. You do a screw finish, and then she drops it the next week. That's it.
Well, the reality is that, like Arn Anderson was somebody, he said many times on his show, he said, I never knew you could say no. So he said, I just did what they told me, and that was the end of it. And which is why he was so loved in the backstage, because they're like, hey, Arn does what he told. He don't buy you no problem. He's like Bobby Eaton. Bobby Eaton alone never did no problems or anything like that. But is it good for business? And I think that's where, Shawn, do you say I wouldn't put her over because of your own personal persona, or because it just doesn't make sense?
Makes sense.
I think it just doesn't make sense.
Now that I'm actually smarter in the business, I would not.
Yeah.
You know, when I was in TNA all those years,
Yeah.
I never said no to any angle or putting
Right.
people over. And that's probably what killed my singles push there, because
Yeah.
there's always someone that does not want you in that top spot, and they will figure out how to manipulate your willingness to say yes all the time to get what they want.
Right.
So if you noticed, when I was getting my nice singles push, everything was going great. The crowd was behind me.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden, let's see if this guy can do it. And this guy, all of a sudden, I went from going from the big belts to back to a tag guy. So
yeah. Yeah, like there was no like you didn't get any kind of chase after that or anything. And I wanted to see the strap on you because I said I like the push they had with going with you, and it was like, and the crowd was behind you. It was like, oh, we got somebody we can get behind real quick. Superhero build, you know, this guy can fly like a cruiserweight. I mean, it made sense. And then once you dropped out, I said I didn't understand what was happening. I thought maybe you were getting ready to leave. You know,
we're all getting, but the main thing was, it was Jim Cornette was my agent at the time, and he was giving me he was in the office giving me the push, and Dixie wanted me to have the push, but there's other people there that did not want me to. And then when Cornette was given an ultimatum, you have to be 1,000% on board with what Vince Russo is doing on the show, or you're gone. And he quit. And he called me. Wow. He called me like 2 days later and said, "Hey man, I quit. I'm sorry." He goes, "Like, what does this mean?" He goes, "Oh, your push is probably gone." And sure enough, that's what happened.
like clockwork. That's crazy. That is so crazy. But you know, like I said, wrestling. What I did notice about this, and tell me, I don't know if you guys were actively watching or not, but Impact Wrestling is really trying to put over sports entertainment, but on a much lower scale. You know what I mean? Because the money's not there, that type of thing. And I almost see them like with WWE, and it's not right, exactly. But it's like when you're watching the show, it's like you're in an amphitheater watching a play. If you know what I mean? Like the I don't know,
it comes off more like theater.
Tell me, guys, because you guys traveled and all in Canada, do those fans pop, or are they like in Japan, where it's super quiet? I lost Ricky again. Ricky, you say guys. I went to send flowers down to Florida. but I mean, you know, in Canada, were those fans? Did they pop or did they not pop?
Honestly, it's the low level production is why you don't hear them.
I think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll be 1,000% because you also got to realize when I was in Impact this last time, like in the end of 2018.
Yeah.
We did a lot of our shows across the river from Detroit, whatever, Toronto or Ontario, whatever the Canadian stuff is.
Right.
And they're only, you got to realize there's only 300 to 500 people at every show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that being said, they're making noise. They're there, but I mean, I think, the production quality. You got to realize when TNA was at its best, they had Spike Network production.
Yeah. True.
Very
true.
So I mean, you go into what, you go all the way from Spike to Pop to just, rabbit ears with some tinfoil on the ends. I don't know what the production is now, but I mean, it's this no matter how great those matches are,
right?
The quality of production is not helping it at all.
To me, it looks like they have the announcers louder than the crowd, which they might have to. Back in the day, the crowd was always louder than the announcers, and then you could hear somebody cough while they're wrestling. That's where I'm like, oh my god, it's hard to watch. It's really hard to watch. Ricky, do we have voice for you?
I hope we do.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, great.
Before we do anything, guys, I have to apologize.
Yes.
I work for a municipality. It's snowing here.
Yes.
I just got called in.
Yes.
I have to go to work. I appreciate you guys. Trust me. Thank you. But I have to go. I got to go make my money now.
Yes.
There you go. Go get it.
Thank you very much for your time. Sorry to bother you. I wish I could stay longer.
Yes. Yes.
You know, LeGrand got it. Just whatever. I'll see you guys.
LeGrand, yeah. Charles, thank you, sir.
I'll see you guys. Sorry.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I was watching the show, and you got guys like Michael Elgin, who I think is really, really good to watch. And he's wrestling. They got Eddie Edwards, who I'm a little tired of seeing, but because they only have, it seems like 12 people on the roster. You know, it doesn't sound like they have anybody on the roster at all. But you can hear somebody cough, you can hear somebody laugh, you can hear somebody talking while the wrestling's happening. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like horrible. It's worse than an indie show. You know what I mean? And I'm like,
but it works for the NWA. I mean, the NWA Power's doing really well with it. They probably only have a few hundred people in attendance. Ricky can attest to Center Stage in the 89, 90.
Yeah.
Techwood Drop Studios in the late 80s.
Yep.
That studio,
in the 80s.
And that brings back a lot of the I don't know why Impact isn't trying to make it more of a studio show where they have the 500 people that can sound a lot louder than 500 people, and they're just not doing that.
Yeah. I also
I look at it from this perspective. Okay, I'm an old school guy, and I believe that some things should be kept old school to the basics.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that the business has changed. Everybody looks alike as far as I'm concerned. There's no real characters. That's not a knock on anybody that's in the business nowadays, because I respect what they do, because I spend time in the ring, and you put your body through a lot of shit just to keep people entertained. And if you're gone for a couple of years, you become, hey, whatever happened to you? You don't keep yourself out there on social media. You're just another guy who was in the business that can talk about it from experience. But the fact remains, if you see the same thing every match, night after night after night after night after night, it gets old. It's like going to the circus. Once you've seen the elephant riding the bike, he can come back the next time, and unless he's riding a different bike, it's the same show.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way I see it. You know, limit the dives, limit the I'm a big pet peeve of mine is slapping your thigh when you're throwing a kick or a drop kick or a punch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess from where we were at, they just would throw the punch and it hit you. I mean, that's just the way it was.
Right.
You got a natural sound off of the sweat of, hitting somebody. You know, I don't ever see, Haku slap his leg, or Sweet Hansen slap his leg, or Brody, slap his thigh. He just threw it, I mean, and I've been in the ring with all those guys, and that was just part of the business. I guess it was just, you knew that was the deal. It wasn't, this big spectacular spot fest. Right. It was more of the get people creative. And I still believe to this day, people will buy it if you have the right people. I mean, you put somebody in there, put a Fit Finley working in with somebody, and they'll think it's a shoot. I mean, that's just the way I see it. And you can still have that. I mean, I believe that if it's laid out right, and you do things right, and the stories are right, and the promos are right, not that somebody's writing it for you, but that you come out in your own character and you put your own twist and things on it, you can still draw. No matter how big your promotion is or how small it is, you'll get a following. But I think we've lost the art of the psychology of the business. The art.
Martin Anderson said in an episode, he said, they asked him about they were asking about AEW versus WWE, that type of thing. And he mentioned multiple times, he said, well, WWE is just overly produced. It's just way overly produced, and you can't be somebody there because you don't have control over who you are in that format. And he said it's not like back in the day where it was like they just told us, hey, we want you to say this and go, and you had to get to that point. You know what I mean? And he said and I mirrored this. I said a number of times. That's why we won't have guys like Roddy Piper anymore. That's why we won't have guys like Dusty Rhodes or anybody like that. Very few and far between, because of the fact that these guys can't do their character. They can't be who they want to be. You know what I mean? They're actors, they're performers in wrestling, and it kind of takes away from it. Now, going back to what you were saying about the NWA, the studio show, if you watch the studio show, it is very reminiscent of.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a flashback.
It is.
I remember being at Techwood, and Dusty would give me the bullet points to go out there for the promo. Listen, you're going to Albuquerque, you're going to LA, we're going here. This is what you got to put over Starcade, blah 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 blah. Do it in your own thing, kid.
Boom.
Nobody wrote, word for word, verbatim, where to stand, where to move, where to sit, when to blink, when to fold your arms. It had to come out natural because you had to get people to believe that what you were saying was for real. And that's the thing that they lack in today's business.
Is it
and not a knock? There's still some guys that can cut some great promos.
Yeah. Is it possible that mentality was indie mentality? We weren't large production back then. If you think back in the 80s, it wasn't super production except for like the WWF, etc. But like it seemed like they had an indie style format. Like everything's a house show. We just happen to be on TV now. So you think that's what kind of that mentality was? That it was more indie. Let's get it over. Boom, boom, boom. We're not in the back writing like we're writing a movie. We have ideas and let's just do it. Because on the indie shows, whenever we would show up for a show, it would be like, you're going to be working so and so, and he's going to go over, but he's the heel, so you guys work that out. I mean, that was indie. And,
that was indie.
So I'm wondering if maybe getting back to the indie format is what we kind of need, because it seems like now, in a weird way, territories in a new fashion has come back, in a sense.
Right, as independent companies that are working out there, but still, when you break it down, and I was blessed enough to work with people you've mentioned, like Arn Anderson, like Tully Blanchard, like Flair, those guys, but I had some of the best brains groom me along. I had Dusty, you had the Grahams, you had the Guerreros, you had all these minds that could feed you and tell you if you really wanted to learn. I picked their brains every night. I mean, when Kevin Sullivan lived with me in Charlotte, do you think I didn't pick his brain on how to get something over and what they wanted and what direction they were going and how far? You don't see an angle go 3-4 months nowadays. That's absurd. You're going to go lucky to one pay-per-view and then move on. That's why people, in my opinion, don't really follow it as much and religiously as they used to, because the story is so short-lived. If you miss 2 weeks of it, what happened here? What happened to that guy? And you can't do that. It's a male soap opera as far as I'm concerned, and you got to play it like that. You have to give people something in case they miss something. There's that recap, and you bring it back into life. And some of the greatest commentators in the world. I had the privilege of having them do my match. Gordon could make a broomstick look like the next world champion just by making you believe what he wanted to get across.
Yeah.
And I think that's another lost art. I say it all the time. It's like the magician. If I show you how the trick is done and I do the trick, you go, oh, well, shit, okay. But if I don't tell you how it's done, you want me to do it 15, 20 times to see if you can catch on how to do the trick.
Sure.
And that's the part that I think we've lost in the business. Will it ever come back? I hope so. I can't guarantee, maybe it will, maybe it won't. But, you got to have that thought process to actually move forward with it. It's not all a spot fest. That's another thing that I go, he took 97 killer moves and he beat you with a small package. Right. What does that say for you? What does that say for the guy who gave you the 97 moves?
Right. Now, you mentioned that, which is kind of funny. What I noticed recently is that all the old heads, to try and get a little bit of shine, are starting to do Canadian destroyers, if you notice. I don't know. Ricky Morton did a Canadian destroyer. Goldust did one on the apron. Tessa Blanchard did 2 in her world title shot. Okay, not to say she's an old head, but like it seems like everybody's turning that move, which was a devastating looking maneuver, into the next DDT, which is now a setup move, which used to be a finisher. You know what I mean? It's once again, it's like, is it like, hey, if you can pull that move off, you'll look back? I mean, I don't understand the
logic.
I understand the logic behind it. It's
me either. I use this example for you. Everybody threw a clothesline back in my day, except when Stan Hansen threw it, you knew it was a finish.
Right.
It's That's just the way it was. I mean, the DDT, perfect example. When that hit, it wasn't a setup or, continuation into something else. It was the finish. You don't know what anybody's finishing move is nowadays because they got these 927 other. I'm glad I'm not in the ring in this era because my body couldn't take it. I wouldn't have lasted 20 years in the business. I probably lasted 2 and fell apart.
But it's the truth though, and like spot monkey wrestling. I mean, it seems too choreographed, and I said that a lot. When somebody will post something, you'll see some really amazing acrobatic function. Like it might be 5 minutes of going back and forth, but they look like they went over it. They look like they rehearsed it. You know what I mean? None of it looks like it's in retaliation to this move or I'm responding to that move. It's like I'm waiting for you. Okay, and I got you, and like they're dancing, like literally like they're dancing. You know,
it's like a Super Bowl halftime show. It's choreographed.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And
that's the way I see it. I just saw a clip a couple days ago of Angle and Benoit, which was a minute opening of them exchanging moves, and you thought they were pissed off at each other because it looked legit.
Yeah.
And that to me is more exciting than flip, flop, and fly, as I call it.
It's the truth.
I mean, I understand it's part of the business nowadays. I'll go back and, like I said, I'm an old school goat. You couldn't go to the ring and be wearing the same color tights as the other guy.
Yeah.
Nothing could be the same. You couldn't do that. They'd pull you. No, come on down. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
I remember when I was doing that enhancement in the beginning 80s for WWF, I always had 83 different colored tights and boots. Because that way I knew I was going to get in there and get a payday because I didn't have the same stuff every week.
Right. And did you figure out by talking who you're working?
What's that?
Did you have to go to like who you're working and be like, oh yeah, by the way, what are you wearing? So like,
well, back then the guys wore the same shit every night, so it didn't matter. Nobody had these elaborate stuff. Come on, Murdoch. Come on, black trunks. That's it. Murdoch, black boots. I mean, that's all it was.
Yeah, don't wear black.
You didn't wear black stuff with Murdoch. Right? I mean, it was pretty simple back then.
And it's funny how you say about the move too, because like Barry Windham, he threw a lariat, which I love Barry Windham. Barry Windham, pound for pound, was one of my favorites in the 80s. He literally what it was.
Oh, yeah. He was unbelievable talent.
But if I look back on it, 35, 40 years later, to have a lariat, especially when he did it like he was like an angel flying through the air. But it didn't seem like anything really hit you that much.
Yeah.
I hit him.
Well, it's morphed into that sling blade now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it's morphed into. Yeah. Everybody has a sling blade. My 7-year-old grandson can sling blade me on the couch.
Ricky and Shawn had. Oh, we lost Ricky again.
Yes. Go ahead, Shawn. You're going to say something?
Well, Shawn knows this from being in TNA. Every single week, AJ didn't wrestle. You didn't wrestle. Other talent was able to wrestle. You weren't always seeing the same moves, the same matches week in, week out. And you're kind of getting that now. Like you're getting the same matches, the same competitors in one match. And it's really, I think you can miss a week or two of wrestling. And as long as you read the sheets or read the recaps, you're still caught up. You're not missing anything.
Well, yeah. I mean, you used to have to wait for Meltzer's Wrestling Observer to come out to catch up with everything else. But yeah, well, now you have you have YouTube TV, you can DVR, you can record everything. Yeah, you're not going to miss it. But, that for me growing up when I was watching it, for me, it was like I knew every Saturday was Gordon Soley, and the world stopped when I had to watch all these. And I was fortunate enough to get in the ring with all those people that I had watched as a kid.
Right.
So for me, it was like, surreal, going to the same building that my dad used to take me to see, the Briscoes and the Funks. And here I am working with Terry Funk. I mean, come on, it doesn't get any better than that, but you have to remember that it's still a story no matter what, no matter how short-lived it is. And if the story's not interesting or the character can't pull it off because it's not really them, then it doesn't matter. How many weddings have we had on WWE?
Oh, my God.
Right? Angle alert, the cake's out there. Somebody's coming out of the cake. I mean, somebody had to have seen that shit. I saw it.
Yeah. That's crazy, though.
Shawn, you were about to say?
The main thing is for I think wrestling now is the people in the agents and producers that are in charge are not instilling, hey, this is this guy's move. Hey, this is this guy's move. And there was a level of respect where you didn't do certain moves in TNA because I was in WWE, so I don't know. You didn't do these moves. I go, flash forward to me coming back in 2018. Everybody's doing the same moves. There's no, no one's telling them, hey, that's this guy's set move. This is this guy's set move, or there's not even there's basically a lack of respect. I would think. Just doing the move anyway, just like when I was in Lucha Underground, every high flyer did a 450. Every single one. I'm like, what the hell? I go, maybe I'm an older dude, or maybe they were scared I'm gonna beat him up, but they asked the certain moves that I did. They asked if they could do them. I just told them no. You ain't doing my shit. But I mean, that's what I just want to think, for the little bit of wrestling I do watch now, because I'm very jaded. I'll just turn the channel because it's just, like Ricky was saying, it's all the same stuff. When I do the crucifix throw, the border talk.
Yeah.
No one's kicking out of that, and no one else is doing it on the show.
Yeah.
Or I won't be on the show. Or this facts. If you want to get over with your own character and your own move set, and that'll get you over and make you more money than you doing everyone's moves and doing it for $100 a night.
Yeah, makes sense. Right. It makes sense.
Don't diminish someone else to put yourself up.
Let me ask you this.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this, and Shawn, you could probably even answer this too. When you're signed to Impact, when you're signed to NWA, whatever the case would be, were under that contract, I know you were able to accept other bookings here and there, depending on what your contract allowed or whatever. But, and Ricky, back in the day, like if you were working NWA shows for JCP, were you booking yourself elsewhere a lot, or was it like you're just kind of like saving yourself for them? Because nowadays, you could see the same guy wrestling in 3 different promotions who are on television. And the biggest one that's doing that right now is MJF, Maxwell J. Freeman. He's doing a lot of stuff for MLW, and he does his stuff for All Elite Wrestling. 2 different storylines going on, but he has no problem saying, hey, I got 2 contracts, blah, blah,
his
blah.
contract with MLW ends in a couple months.
Does it? He's getting ready to get it.
Yeah,
because they brought in that other guy to fill his spot. Yeah. But, I mean, as far as that's concerned, were you guys allowed to? Was that a thing to just book wherever you can get booked?
Well, for me back in my day, if the office didn't send you to somebody else's territory, you didn't go. I mean, if you were with the Crockett's and Florida was running the show, they sent their talent, and you'd work it, and then you go back running the Carolinas. If you worked for Don Owens, Flair would come in, the Road Warriors would come in, but it would just be a office deal. It was done in our office. It wasn't just because, hey, I think I'm going to go work Memphis tomorrow night, Monday, instead of being in Seaside, Oregon. I mean, it just didn't work that way. Right. You got moved around from territory to territory, and back then, if you had to know somebody who recommended you to get into that territory based on your ability to work and follow direction, and it was kind of like I like to classify it. It was kind of like a mafia thing, and you had every one of the families, and you didn't tread on that. You just did that. But I understand everything's evolved. I mean, $1 million contracts. I mean, I hear some of the stuff that they're offering these guys in the business nowadays to stay so they don't go to somebody else. And I said, and they think about it. Holy shit! Yeah. $500,000, a 5-year deal every year. Sign me up, beat me every night. I don't care. Yeah, I really don't. It's just about at the end of the day, I'm sad, and that's what it was about. For us, it was a way that we fed our families. We were on the road making money to feed our families and buy that house and have that car. It wasn't about all the other stuff. I mean, I think we're a tighter knit group, that old fraternity, but that's neither here nor there.
Shawn, when you were in Impact, LAX time, LAX years, right? First time.
You're not going to let Shawn answer the question?
I am, but I want to ask him this real quick because this is very pertinent to what Ricky just said. I run my shit right. Don't worry about what I'm doing. How many people were under contract versus were subcontractors, or was that a thing?
In the Spike years, network years, everybody who's on TV was under contract.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We have. I mean, there was the guys that never won. They might be on a nightly deal, but they were not allowed to wrestle other big promotions.
Okay. All right. Yes, that makes sense. Now to LeGrand's point, if you want to go ahead and answer that question.
Wow, it's real simple for if these guys are bragging about being under contract by 2 different places or 3 different places, whatever it is, it's obvious they're not making the money.
Right.
Because if they're making money, why would I abuse my body if I'm got $100,000 over here or $200,000 over here? They're not making that. It's this generation, and I hate to be an old man because I am, but
both.
Just like I think I told you this guys last time when I went back to Impact in 2018.
Yeah.
Me and the very first day, me and Homicide are sitting in the stand watching guys go over their matches. And I looked at him, I said, bro, we are in wrestling hell. I go, whatever the gods put for, AJ or Samoa Joe or Bobby Roode and Eric Young, they got to go to wrestling heaven and make money in WWE. We're stuck here. Everyone, everyone's making, everyone's doing everyone's moves. The agents that had a time, no disrespect to the producers, agents. If I was more over, a lot of those guys, and you can look it up on Wikipedia or look it up online. Who were the agents and producers back when I was back there at 18? If I was more over it than you when we were in TNA together, how are you going to teach me to be a star?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You were first, second match guy, and I'm wrestling in the main event, for 8 years, and now you're going to be putting my match together. You're the ones going to tell me how to do my promo. I'm like, this is like wrestling purgatory.
Yeah.
We're, it's you got the blind leading the blind. I go, I don't have back then you had people who like Al Snow. At least Al Snow was made a name for himself. I mean, and Hogan and different guys like that would at least try to help you, take you under your wing and push you in the right direction. Now you got guys that are not only younger than me, but never were more than maybe an X Division champion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Telling you how to be a star. I'm like, what the hell is this? Or worse, you have, I don't want to mention his name, but you have one agent telling us how to do the gangster promos. So you have myself, Eddie Kingston, and you have Homicide, and you have this producer / wrestler / agent telling us how to do the gangster stuff. Cool.
Nice. Nice.
Interesting.
That wasn't Sanjay Dutt, was it?
Oh man, you hit that right in the head, son. You already knew.
Dude, I can't tell you how many times you come across guys and be like, yes, you're gonna go out there, you're gonna be a tough guy, and you're gonna do this, and you're like, excuse me, have you ever really been in a fight?
Right?
If you've never been punched in the mouth, shut up or I'm gonna show you. And like, why is he so? Because you want him to be a character, but that's what he is, and you're just pretending.
Well, you know what? Someone said on the last show, there was a guy that was real hard, he was on TV every week, and he could barely pay his rent. Remember that? You said that. But he was a star, but he couldn't pay his rent.
Yep.
Yeah. That's rough.
It's a big shame because you see that a lot. And unfortunately, you have guys that are super talented, like Shawn and Ricky. and they go out there and they put themselves out there. They give you everything they got, and they just aren't appreciated in the office.
Right.
And it's sickening.
You know, it's like you come across, and like Shawn says, you get a lot of people that, you know, try to tell you a lot of things. And my favorite line for that one is, besides the garden in your backyard, what garden have you been in? Madison, Boston, Toronto Maple Leaf, you know, maybe a dome. Have you been in a dome, Tokyo Dome, Silver Dome? You know, other than that, appreciate the gesture, but you know, I'm going to move on. Yeah, you know, seeing some of the greatest guys. You know, I mean, my favorite story is sitting there when I was, you know, breaking into business, and Bob Orton Jr. was doing the Big Ace thing with Roddy, and we were down in Miami, our hometown, and Chief, you know, wanted Bobby to take care of me and, you know, give me an 8-minute match, you know, on a house show, which I was ecstatic. So I went up and I said, Bobby, is there anything special I need to know? He was reading a book and he said, you know my finish?
Right.
Yes, sir. You got a problem with it? No, sir. And he says, Chief says you can listen. We'll see. And he went back to reading his book. So it was kind of like, whoa, shit. Okay. So I go out there, he backs me in the corner, and he calls the spot out of nowhere. Boop, 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 boop. So I do it real quick. And he goes, yeah, you can listen. So now maybe we can work. But it was time, you know. He sat there, and I grabbed a hold, and the infamous words came out from the crowd. Boring. I said, oh, shit, panic mode, right? What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? We're not moving for 10 fucking minutes. We didn't move. And he says, move your foot. I moved my foot. No, too fast. Slow it down. And he walks me through this comeback, right? And he goes, come on, kid, let's go. Boom, 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 boom. Go to the top. I'm cutting you off. We're going home. And bam, you know, and the crowd went, oh. But they said, if it wasn't for that hit in the rope, you would have won, you know. And I thanked him. Chief got mad at him because we went like 14 minutes. So that's because we sat for 10. But Bobby goes, what the hell do you want, Chief? Did you want me to put the kid over, or do you want time? Because I'm selling wrestling. So every time I see, you know, Bob Orton Jr., he always calls me kid. And I go, you know what I love about that? I go, I'm 61 years old and you still call me kid. That's just great. But that's a lost art.
It is. It really is. And you know what? Between promos and between wrestling psychology, a lot of times, and we talked about this a number of times and a number of different things. Wrestling psychology is something that's gone away completely. Like a lot of maneuvers, a lot of spots, for example, it's like, hey, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you do this? Why would you do it? When I learned, it was like, you're going to do this move in this way because if you did it another way, I can get out of it. So it's still an illusion. It's still a scenario of saying, we got to make this look as legitimate as possible, you know, without hurting you know,
right.
And I learned logic. He was one of my trainers. He trained me logic. He said, you can make any of these flying moves, but if you can't get a decent headlock that allows me to stay in you, you know, while you're there, that I can't just slide out of it, what's the point of doing the move? You know, and I look for that when I watch wrestling. I look for that tightness. I look for that type of thing. We posted a image of, I think on the Big Vito show, he had sent me a video in AEW. Dustin Rhodes gets attacked by this Dark Order, right? The number of these guys in there. And the guy has him, he's like got him like kind of fed over, and he's punching. The guy's legitimately
the apron.
He's punching the apron, which is literally 18 inches away from his face. You know, it's not even like he's close to it. He's punching the apron. I said, "Oh my God!" What? And that got on film.
And every old school guy cringed when he saw it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, realistically.
Okay. I mean, I guess I never wrestled in a mask. I don't know, but that's what they said.
Hey, Ricky, let me tell you something. If I close my eyes, if I had my left hand on your forehead, I think I could find it with my right hand. I'm just,
I would hope.
you know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Even if you punched your hand, you could find it.
Yeah. If I go
And
for
my forehead nowadays is a 5-head, so you can find it real easy.
Like, to an angle, and I was like, oh, well, they had to do something because it was clear as day.
It was just horrible.
Yeah.
And
You're laying in front of the hard cam.
Yep.
Missing by a mile.
And
you know, what was the director punching in the truck though? Out of boom, boom, boom.
get right off.
You know,
yeah.
right off. Get off of that shot.
And if I was busting, I would have moved my head over. Here, let me help you. There you go. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of great wrestling that's out there right now. I've been really enjoying NWA. They're bringing back the television title now, which is pretty good. And some of the characters that they're promoting are kind of old school. There's a Ziggy Dice, who I enjoy watching a lot. He's very flamboyant and all, but
he reminds me of like a Rip Rogers.
Yeah,
like with a ponytail down.
Yeah, remember Rip Rogers?
Like Adrian Street.
Yeah. And then there was you got Trevor Murdoch, who's such a throwback.
Right.
You know, he's great to watch. Nick Aldis is just phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about Nick Aldis. And like Vito had said, you know, his charisma is not of WWE, but it's definitely that of an NWA because it's like a bigger fish in a smaller pond. And it's not to say anything negative about him, but like he protrudes himself like, I'm an athlete and I'm the top athlete, which is much like what Flair did back in the day. I'm just good. You know, you don't have to. I'm not going to be evil and say evil things and blah, blah, blah. I might cheat here and there, but you're going to hate me because I'm right all the time. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're that asshole.
Yeah, Harley was that way.
Yes. Very much.
You know, Joey Funk Jr. was that way.
Yes.
I mean, you looked at it and they were, you know, they were heels. Everybody knew that they were the heel, but they just came out there and did their thing.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
You know?
Harley was a classic for that. You know, I mean, he could articulate. He made you believe in everything he said because it was a shoot for Harley.
Right.
I mean, he could do what he said he was going to do, and I had a lot of respect for Harley for what he did for the business and everything that, you know, when I picked his brain and learned from him. I mean, I asked everybody questions. I wasn't afraid to ask because I wanted to be better at what I did. Am I the world's greatest worker? Nah. But I got a lot of knowledge in my head from asking because, you know, knowledge is power at the end of the day.
Right. Now, at the end of the day, it is a payday. You know, you got food to put on the table, that type of thing.
Yep.
But speaking of Harley Race, considering the champion that he was and considering the stock that he came from, when he goes to WWF at the time and becomes King Harley Race and is somewhat, granted, he's in the twilight of his career. I understand that. But do you think that was something that kind of like the WWE didn't know what to do with him? In a sense?
I think like anything at that time, because of that head-to-head competition, you know, the NWA was such a strong suit for so many years. And WWE trying to make themselves the, you know, the mecca of wrestling. They probably didn't. There was probably a lot of guys, but, you know, Harley still pulled it off as King Harley.
Oh, yeah.
Dusty still pulled it off. You know, Goldust still pulled it off. You know, I mean, they still pulled it off because, as I say it, the talent is there. No matter what you put in front of them, if you're talented enough and you can do what you do best, they can put any kind of gimmick on you and pull it off, realistically.
Shawn, is there anybody that you wish you were able to work and haven't?
No.
Hey, he's honest.
There you go.
No, because I mean, you know, that's currently wrestling or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I got to wrestle Sting, Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy. I'm good.
Okay.
You know, I got to wrestle, you know, the top guys in all Japan when I was a greenhorn. So I'm good. You know, I mean,
Shawn, as a fan, I personally wish we got to see more of you and Matt Morgan. I think you guys had some great chemistry as a tag team and as opponents. And I just wanted to say that today during the show is that I would have loved to see more of you and Matt Morgan go at it.
that's a Jim Cornette deal. When Jim left, no chance.
Yeah, well, you guys were very similar in size, but you brought a lot of different stuff to the table, and you guys meshed so well. And I think during the Hogan Bischoff era, you guys were tag team champions for a short period of time. And I thought that could have gone to a blow feud, and it just never happened.
Yeah,
never materialized.
That was, and back then TNA, you know, they were Hogan and Bischoff were pushing their guys only. You know, if you look back in that era, AJ maybe got to be in the mains a little bit, and Samoa Joe. The rest were proven WWE commodities. There was no room for me or Matt. There was no way me or Matt were going to get a chance to be in the main.
Well, if you look back, you know, you had that final resolution pay-per-view. You had AJ, Daniels, and Joe in that three-way. Then 1 month later, in January, you have Shawn Morley, the Nasty Boy, Paul, and Matt. And your whole entire landscape on pay-per-view had changed, and it wasn't necessarily for the better.
Yeah,
I remember that day because I got me and Matt. We got exactly 90 seconds of TV time because of those guys.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Right.
We were because we were doing live shows then, and they weren't, you know, they cut our segment completely and they put it back on. Then maybe we'll give you a 20-30-second match, and then okay, you guys get entrances, but the other guys don't. 90 seconds, go.
That's crazy. So you're like stuck in a squash, and then it's like, who's squashing who?
Oh, I'm good. I mean, you know, talk about that before. You know, when I was in the independents, I was making $100, unloading trucks for $8 an hour. I go to TNA, I'm making 90,000 base. I'm not complaining.
No, that's what I'm saying.
I don't want to go back to making $8 an hour unloading trucks. Oh, you know, y'all really put up with this guy. You want to be in this tag team. You want to be in this tag team. Okay, I still get that check every 2 weeks, right? I'm good.
Yeah, it's funny because when I met AJ Styles, somebody like in front of me or something like that, they said, "Oh, I wish you didn't go to WWE. I wish you stayed in Japan. I wish you go back to TNA." Blah blah. And he said, "You know what, dude? It's a paycheck, and I got mouths to feed him. That's what it comes down to. You forget it's a job. You forget that it's a job. You know what I mean? It's a career, but it's a job. You know, one of those things that always stuck with me was there was an interview with Ronnie Garvin, and it really blew my mind because in his era, you know, in the mid-'80s was like my time with JCP, and you know, they're saying, "Hey, how did it feel to be the world champion?" And he said, "Well, they called me in the office one day, and they said, on Saturday night, you're going to go over on Flair, and you're going to get the title." And he said, "Okay." And then they gave him the belt. He said, then about 35 days later, they called me back in the office and said, "Hey, we're going to need the belt back." He said, "Okay." And he goes, "And I went about my business." And that's just the way it was. And I was like, holy shit. That's right. It's a job. It's like, forget about everything they said they gave you. Like, you know, you go back to what we always talk about, Dusty Rhodes getting jumped and his hand getting slammed in the car door, and stuff like when Flair had the date with Riley or whatever, and Ronnie goes, and you forget all this. You're like, oh my God, this is really happening because you're a kid. You don't have any idea. You know, you're dressing up like a woman. I'm going to go beat up Ric Flair. That's what you got to do in life. I'm getting like, in that position. You got to dress up as a pig and get somebody up. That's what I'm, you know, like kid. And then you don't realize, oh, damn it, this is a job.
Part of it, I believe, they can agree or disagree.
Right.
When you're on the other side of the guardrail,
yeah,
you get that passion, you get that overwhelming drive to see what's going on in the life, because for lack of, it's real, damn it. You know, that's the thing. You're sitting back and you're saying, this is real life. This is what they go through every day. When the camera goes off, he's still styling and profiling. When the camera goes off, you know, all that will still happen.
Yeah.
Because as a fan, not only is that what you think, it's what you want to believe.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's why when we used to see Mr. Santana and Shawn on TV weekly or whatever, you guys were bigger than life.
Yeah.
When we saw you coming up in the parking lot to whatever venue, we scrambled to get to your car because you guys were our heroes. Even if you were a bad guy, you were our favorite bad guy, you know? And that's something that we clamor for, you know?
You know, Arn Anderson in a more recent interview had said something like, he said there was really nothing like being at like a fan fest or something like that, and having somebody said having like a 35, 40-year-old man with his kid there, and that father saying to you, saying, you know what, he goes, you meant so much in my life growing up, blah blah blah. And he said, you know, and he goes, this one in particular time, the guy had his son there, and then he was, and he had a tear in his eye when he was talking to me, and he goes, that's what makes it worth it. Forget about any payday, forget about being the world champion, forget about any of that stuff. He goes, that's to be able to connect with somebody on that level was amazing. And I had to think about it myself. My father worked 3 jobs when he grew up. You know, he's still alive. He's still alive. And my father is the greatest man that ever lived. And one could say that about his father. But I got to say, though, aside from my dad, I learned how to be a man from Rick Flair, from Arn Anderson, from Barry Windham, from Tully Blanchard, and you notice I named all the heels. But
all
the heels are called me.
Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette would have
yeah, and now I'm a jerk off.
Jim Cornette can tell you how to properly insult somebody.
Yeah, I mean, but I learned that like when I become a man, I gotta be like these guys. But these guys are athletes. These guys are. Actually, Jim Crockett put it so well was the athleticism over the sports entertainment sense, where it's like, hey, we're all competitors, but Ricky just happens to be tougher than that guy, and that guy's tougher than him. And my father always said, listen, there's always somebody tougher than you. Believe what I tell you. Don't ever think you can't be beat, because you can be. And he goes, if you know that, you'll be prepared when that time comes. And it's the God honest truth. But I learned how to be an adult, how to be a man from guys like Flair and Anderson and stuff like that. And say, this is the way things have to be, you know.
As the 4 horsemen
my phone. So it's wrestling nowadays. I don't get that same feeling. And I think it's because I'm older than everybody in the
social media does that too, though. Social media, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, all these guys are kind of likable guys. That really, I mean, if you go on the social media, okay, well they have a family too, and they're kind of more humanized than back in the 80s and 90s, where it was like some good guy.
Right, but then you're like you want to see these guys with the family and still be an asshole. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look at Flair. He put that girl up on the side. He's like he's got Fifi, you know what I mean, or something like that. You know, his wife right there. And Arn Anderson just is constantly punching people. You know, that's what you kind of expect in real life. This guy must not be able to walk in an Applebee's because he must get in fights with people all the time or something like that. It's not the case, you know what I mean?
Yes, it's a definite. And on your whole point, and Arn made a good point with that.
Yeah.
If you look at it, we were up at the me and the Cuban Assassin, my partner of many years. Went in as a Cuban Connection, and we were sitting there, and the gentleman walked up, and he was with his 2 kids. And he says, I remember when you were feuding with the Sheep Herders. I remember when you were feuding with the Rock and Roll Express. I remember with the Mod Squad. I remember this. And he was going match after match after match after match. And I looked at Dave and I said, shit, he knows more about us than we do. So, for me, it was great. That's fantastic. We made an impression. We got somebody to buy into everything. So, yeah. And that makes it all worth it. We signed the pictures and, he said, can you take a picture with my kids? I'm sure, man. I mean, like you said, we are humanized. I mean, we got families. I mean, I got grandkids. I mean, let's just be real about that. I mean, but you're right. We were larger than life. We were the entertainment show. And in a lot of places, we were the only gig in town because there wasn't any pro sports, so it made us larger than life. And we were, rock stars in spandex, and it was great. If I had to do it all over again, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just wish I could take the knowledge that I gained in those 30-something years and apply it when I first got into business, because maybe it'd have been a different turnout. But for sure, I'd do it all over again. No regrets. The regrets, as they would say.
Shawn, what do you have to say?
Y'all said it all. I mean, I really enjoyed listening to Ricky because, I mean, he has a lot of great advice and great knowledge. I remember, 4 or 5 years ago, I met him in Puerto Rico. He was helping WBC out, and it was the same thing back then. When I first wrestled in Puerto Rico, maybe 15 years ago, was way different when I wrestled like 4 or 5 years ago, and Ricky was trying to instill the same values and wasn't even the same product when I came back. And I'm just marking out, listening to Ricky, man. I'm good.
Appreciate the problem, bro. He did listen because I was just trying to keep him in for what they were trying to do, for his character and how they were pushing him. Because at one time I did book for Carlos many years, and he was coming up. He goes, "What do you think we should do with Shawn?" I said, "Well, I think you should do this, and this." But I'm not here in the territory. I'm just helping you out with the anniversary show, with the live promos and production. But I think this is what you should do with him. And I was just kind of help Shawn along, because I remember when I was in the business and the guys like Dusty and the Arns and the Tullys and the Funks gave me that advice. Hey, kid, don't do this, do this. You should do this, you should do that. And I think you have to give back. Hell, I still go twice a week to the same school that trained me, Malenko School, and I train with the young guys. I get back in the ring and I roll around and try to teach them what I've learned over, a gazillion years. And of course, I help Awful with his school in Mineola. So, I got to give back. I mean, that's just my nature. Because the business was good to me from a growth standpoint. You got your ups and downs. You get screwed on paydays. The opening line in that movie, The Wrestler, hey, the house was down. I'll take care of you. A lot of fat people taking up 2 seats. Boom, had me because I lived that. The first promoter ever told me, kid, you're worth $500, but I can only pay you 50. 50?
Yeah.
What? I just busted my ass out there. 50? Really? That's all I got, kid. So I can relate to it. But yeah, so I always want to give back and give my knowledge to what it's at. And Shawn, listen. So that's the big key, because there's nothing worse than you try to give somebody a little bit of advice and they just go, yeah, I do, yeah, okay, all right, well, we're done. Bye.
When last year, Ricky, you started off the interview with you with saying, I have to say that there's life after wrestling. And
yes.
And this is something that really hit me hard, because I ended up repeating that line throughout a number of other different interviews, Shawn's included, so on and so forth. What did all this wrestling, if you look back now, what did wrestling do for you?
For me, in the profession I'm in the automotive industry, sales, and what it did for me was the ability to talk to people, find a common ground, because I was a babyface for so many years that I had to find that common ground to market myself, because there wasn't this big monster machine that would push out there and market DVDs and shirts and pictures and appearances. You had to do that on your own. And it gave me the ability to listen, because you had to listen to what the booker was telling you if you wanted to get over and you wanted to stay in the territory. And most importantly, it learned for me how to react to how people react to what you say. So body language, and when I talk to customers, I see what they're truly trying to accomplish, because everybody's different. And that, gave me a lot of insight to life and the ability to just go out there. Like the gentleman who hired me, he's the owner. He said, Rick, the only thing that changed, instead of a chair, a table, or a cage, it's a car. That's your prop. You can talk to people. You can get yourself out there. You can put yourself over. You know, and he wasn't talking wrestling terms. He was just saying, you know, get yourself over, right, with the people, with the customer. So it taught me that, but it also taught me that even though one chapter closes, another one starts. I left one territory, went to another. So the life lesson repeats itself as long as I keep an open mind and keep that moving. Because, you know, a lot of guys don't know how to deal with that, not being in that fame and everything else. And that question was brought up to me, you know, are you going to be able to go in there and serve somebody when you didn't wait in line at the restaurant or at the airport? You know, you did at the rental place, you did, you know. And I said, well, do I really have a choice? You know, it's just like when your career is over, do you really have a choice? Yeah, you got to move on. That's the choice you have. And you have to make that adjustment. So, you know, we've made that adjustment, myself and, you know, Haku. He works with me. We've been together 17 years at the same dealership with the same owner. And he's still in charge of the complaint department. If you don't like the car or your deal, you can go take it up with him. And just let me know when, you know, you want me to pull him off you. That's just the way it is. That's all in love. He's a good man. You know, I love him to death.
No, Haku wasn't slamming his fire that one, no.
What do you mean you need tires? I'll carry the car. It's all good.
It's all good. I'll take it flat. I'm good.
Now, Shawn, aside from looking at your beautiful lawn, because I know you really love your lawn more than anything else in life besides your wife, you're obviously actively booking yourself. You're actively booking yourself now. What do you see yourself doing in 5-6 years from now?
Well, I'm trying to transition now. I'm doing a lot of auditions for some TV stuff and movie stuff here in Austin because it's an hour away from San Antonio.
Right.
And actually, I'm up for a TV role, and I will know Monday.
Oh,
Nice.
So,
Good deal.
so I mean, this.
It's not Mark Sullivan, is it?
No. I was last year. I did an episode of Queen of the South when they were shooting in Dallas. Yeah. Now they're moving to New Orleans, so I'm good. But you know, I'm doing a show later on tonight. In San Marcos, which is about 30 miles from here, and I'm helping these guys. You know, it's a small upstart promotion, and they're starting a wrestling school next month, so I'm going to help out a little bit of that. So mostly just watch my kids grow up. Is what I'm going to do. So
there you go. That's what it comes down. That's what it comes down to. And you got that young wife, so now she's got to keep you going here and there.
That's what keeps you going. You got to have a young wife.
His wife, she's up.
I'm not going to say how old she is, but she just looks a lot younger than me.
Oh,
ooh, look at the time.
Well, damn, I look younger than you. What the hell are you talking about?
I know she ain't watching this show either.
No, I'm talking shit now because she's not home.
She's not.
Perfect guy. She's a science teacher, and she teaches cheerleading at the school.
Yeah.
And then she teaches competitive cheerleading on the weekends, and she's fixing to come home in a minute, so I'll get off my shit talking out.
I love it because you guys are still moving. Really, only 3 years in, something like that. 4 years.
What's that?
You're only like 4 years in, something like that.
Dude, when you're old.
No, April will be 2 years we've been married.
2 years. 2 years.
Oh man, congrats.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't his first rodeo. I mean, it's not like he's a novice.
No. This is my fourth marriage.
See, that's what the business.
You got me beat. I've only had 2.
Ricky, if you had mentored me 15 years ago, I'd be in a lot better place financially.
Sorry, bro. I'm a little slow moving.
Guys, this was so great. This was so great. You guys are awesome. I always appreciate you coming on. Shawn, I talk to him on a daily basis. Ricky, thank you so much. We're actually planning to go down to Florida, and we're gonna
let me know when you're down here.
Yeah, we're gonna grab you. We're gonna grab you and some other people.
Wings and beers.
And then,
yeah, there we go. A little wings and beer. I'm good about that. I can drink a few glasses of beer,
and then
or gallons, whatever.
I'm trying to figure out Texas too. I'm trying to get out and go to places because now I'm getting older myself. but we're definitely gonna get everybody together. Florida's gonna be a nice little pickup. We're gonna try and do that. It's an extended weekend. So guys, thank you so much. Shawn, you're working tonight.
Yes, sir. I'll be San Marcos tonight. AWR is 30 miles from here. At that Hops and Green Brewery, $2 beers all night, guys.
There you go.
Yeah, my kind of show.
That's a 1990 prices. I love that. And then obviously, Ricky, where do you work, Ricky? Again, you tell everybody.
Well, we're in the Tampa area. I work for the Moss Automotive Group. We have Moss Nissan. We have Moss Acura. You can come see myself and Haku. We only charge a $10 admission, $20 for autographs. If it's in color, it's $25, and a T-shirt. We'll give you a package deal at $30. That's it. We're not negotiating anymore.
Guys, I love having you guys. God bless you.
Appreciate you having me.
I definitely, you love it. So our fourth ever show.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, go ahead.
This is all personal for me. Okay, I'm this isn't character. This isn't show. This is for me. I personally want to thank every last one of the gentlemen, ladies, all the super talent that's been coming to this show.
Yeah, no, true.
Past 4 years. I want to personally thank every single person that ever tuned in, whether it be for 1 second or 1 hour, to listen to anything we have to say. Smart, stupid, ignorant, intelligent, whatever the case may be. Because if it wasn't for Ricky Santana, Shawn, Vito,
Killer Bees,
all you guys coming. If it wasn't for you guys, there would be no us.
Yeah.
Seriously. If it wasn't for the fans, there would be no us. And that means a lot to me.
Yes.
And I also want to thank my co-host.
Yes.
One's missing.
One's missing.
He's normally the biggest one.
Not Skinny Luther.
But not the Skinny Luther. At 4 years of doing this, it's been phenomenal. We talk about transition. This has been a transition for me coming out of the ring and doing other things. But being able to be here with you guys and you guys means a hell of a lot to me.
And you know what?
On that note, I'm going to say something to finish up on what you said. You're thanking us and everybody that's watching, but I'm thanking you guys for having me on the show, which keeps my name still alive in the wars, because unless you're 40, 50, 60 years old, you're not going to remember my name unless you were a follower from back then. Maybe if you were a female, that might be a whole different story. But hey, that's a whole different thing. But for the most part, the fans always make the talent. But for me, everybody that I stepped into the ring with, they're the ones that made Ricky Santana that name during that era. I didn't do it; they did it. I just followed their lead. So I'm ever thankful and grateful for all that talent that I stepped in and all the talent that taught me everything I know. So I'm humbling myself, thanking you guys for having me on your program. Anytime you need me on there, you just let me know. I'd be happy to come in and reminisce and talk some shit.
And
that's about it.
Going back to what Shawn said before about his time and impact in 18, when I was first coming out, right, I'm in the pipe for the first time for my first match, and the announcer's announcing my name and my music starts playing, and Charles, who's conveniently not here right now, he says right behind me, "What a stupid fucking gimmick." The first thing I hear before my first time out of the place. And I turn around, I said, "They're opening the doors." I turn around like this. I said, "You son of a bitch." And I had to go out and wrestle again. And now I'm his boss. And this is what it works out.
How about that shit?
Right? See that? Now I'm telling you how I want this show done. Guys, thank you so much once again. It's been such a pleasure. If you guys are watching this, make sure you support these guys out when you go in the trade area. Buy a car. I know it's like an impulse.
Yeah, or two. I mean, they're small.
You got 2 feet. You need 2 bars. Come on.
Shawn, definitely. It was a lot of fun to see him because this guy can still go. He's like a cruiserweight at like 200. What are you, 200 and what? 260?
I'm a spelt 260.
260 pounds. 260. And then obviously hit that notification bell down below. Make sure you're subscribing. Share the channel as well. Guys, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. And we got more of that stuff going on the DJ Productions Network. Until next time, for Shawn Hernandez, for Ricky Santana, and for my guys right here, my name is Danny J. Until next time, we'll see you at the matches. I'll see you next time.
The proceeding was produced by DJB Productions. Go to www.thatworkpoolwrestlingshow.com.